Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Only Run Very Noob, bringing you a very special guest today. He top four his country's nationals. He's a calling champion and a recent battle hardened champion. Everyone, please welcome Justin. Dang, I should have asked you how to pronounce your name. Is it Ku?
Yeah, it's cool.
Ku. Okay, I didn't know. Maybe it's like Q or something. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and do this with me. I think it's great. I've noticed you've really liked the hero that I've fallen in love with lately, too.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Definitely been enjoying Victor.
So, a little bit of your flesh and blood history. Are you more of like a Guardian player? I know you won the calling on Azalea. So, just say a little bit about like your favorite class and maybe why you picked up Victor.
Yeah, so I actually am more of a Guardian player. I started the game with Bravo, uh, mainly because actually it was the cheapest CC deck to build. Um, I started the game. Well, my first CC event was last year's RTN. I only decided to I only found out and decided to join that RTN the Monday of the event. So I had to scramble to build the CC deck, and the cheapest deck that was Bravo. And then I end up actually really enjoying the Guardian playstyle. I think it's really something that I like because of how consistent it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
so I think most of my games have probably been on Guardian. Yeah, so I've mainly been a Guardian player. Azalea sort of has a lot of similarities with Bravo, where you kind of time walk them.
Yeah, I've heard that. The dominate keyword shows up
Yeah,
prominently in both on the hero itself, actually. And then, like, on hits and crush effects are sort of similar, like debilitate your opponent's turn.
yeah,
No armor, though, so I never really messed with it.
yeah. That is the big difference. You get a lot more power with Azalea, but it's a lot scarier. There's games tend to go a lot faster on both sides. Um, which isn't the case with Guardian, right? Yeah, it's so much more consistent. And I really like the class because of that, just the consistency and the safety of everything. Just knowing that like there's not really a Guardian low roll, right? There's sort of some there kind of is, but like compared to the other classes, you're like so much more stable.
Yeah, because even when you low roll, it's not like you lose the game, right? So it doesn't really feel like a low roll. It's just kind of like we're delaying the high roll for a further turn. Like all your cards just block three.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the low roll is drop the hand.
Yeah, you can like block 9, send 4, and it's like absolutely a fine turn cycle. Sometimes even block 12.
Yeah,
That's what made me really fall in love with the class too. Is you never, or very rarely, you have like those four red hands with tempo where you're just like, like
yeah.
there's a lot of back and forth. It took me a while to find Guardian. My first CC deck was Rhinar, and I moved off that very quickly. And then I started playing Dash, and I really liked it. But I played Dash like it was a Guardian. Like I just blocked a lot, and I liked that I could just like still one blue was 4 damage. It was just 2+2 instead of 4.
Yeah, I realized recently that playing Dash that way is kind of like Decimator Axe.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, so it is RTN season right now. So I definitely want to talk about some CC decks. Um, why did you choose Victor in this meta?
I wanted to play a Guardian, and so the other choice is Bravo. But just thinking about it, I feel like the Bravo match, the matches that Victor probably is better than Bravo, you win by a lot more. Than the matches that Bravo loses to, you probably lose to anyway. Wait, you lose a lot harder on Victor, but you probably lose to them anyway as Bravo, right? You just have a tiny little bit better edge. I am curious as to why there hasn't been. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I'm curious as to why there hasn't been any victors in any top eights recently, right? Um, but there have been a lot of Bravos, right?
Yeah, I wonder if that's just a little bit of like new hero nerves. Like they're just playing the hero they know about and they're not really getting the reps on Victor. Because I definitely agree with you that in a Guardian favored meta, Victor just seems way better. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Bravo kind of suffers from just being like 50-50 into everything. Like you're never really that happy, never really that sad about what hero your flips over unless it's Kano.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
or like
Feels
something
like
weird.
as yeah, yeah, or like something weird. It feels like as Bravo, a lot of the matches will be a lot closer, like you said, like pretty 50-50. Like there
Mm-hmm.
is like a decent chance that you might lose to something that's generally favored, like let's say like Ninja or something. Like the games do get kind of close, whereas with Victor, you kind of just steamroll at any matchup where your hero ability is live. That's certainly how it feels.
Yeah, if you're just like blocking three, drawing a card, and giving like yourself a resource and a damage, like when you're trouncing or whatever, it's just like, how are you losing those games if those aren't even like missing ever?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
like I feel
um,
like Ninja's just free. Like I
yeah,
know some people disagree, probably mainly like Katsu players that haven't played into a lot of Victor, but um, I mean I feel pretty comfortable saying they're like 80-20 in favor of
yeah,
Victor. It's like really bad for
yeah. I
them.
agree. Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah, it feels like any matchup where you consistently can trigger your hero tags, it feels like such a steamroll. You just have so much more extra value in your deck on top of just being a guardian, so you're extremely consistent. And with I realized with the recent like innovation of Terra Sunder, you sort of have Crippling Crush in your deck anyway.
Oh yeah, you just terrace under your golden sun or whatever.
Yeah, or you're Pride to Fight.
Yeah, that too, because the
Yeah,
Prime Defy only costs three after like a trounce, so you can
yeah,
really. Yeah, that's pretty good. I do
yeah.
have to
So
admit that I have not been on Terra Sunder. I know a lot of people have been playing that card. Um, for me, I've been playing Clash of Might. My meta is very warrior heavy, so it's just like always turned on. But why would you play Terra Sunder over something like Clash of Might or whatever else you might be playing?
I think it adds another like a real major disruptive effect because a lot of the crushes a lot of the crushes decks other than ninja, like let's take warrior or something, and probably KO as well, they can sort of just block it and be okay with it, right? It's not something like, let's say when you make them block with two cards, sometimes they were gonna block with two cards anyway, like especially in the case of like Kasai or something.
Yeah,
um yeah, I've really been liking Terra Sunder. It feels like Terra Sunder and Pommel are like the only two misses worth having. And of course, the big D reacts, right? Uh, I feel like those are the only misses worth having because Terra Thunder just brings so much. Uh, it, yeah, like kind of what I said a while ago. It feels like having Crippling Crush in your deck anyway. Like that's one of the main things that Bravo has over Victor, right? It's actually just those six cards, right? Just having the Crippling Crush and Starstruck for like your time walks. But
yeah,
having Terra Thunder feels like you get Crush in your deck anyway. And I feel like sure it does hurt Clash consistency, but it feels very worth it. It feels like uh if you have the spot to resolve it, it's pretty game winning. And unlike Crippling Crush, it's an on hit, not a crush effect.
true. And unlike
So
Crippling Crush, it's also a little bit more versatile too, right? Because you can just combine it with your hammer instead of combining it with a big attack. So it can be like three card dominate, you got to discard two, and then the other half of like your Prime Defy or your Golden Sun. If you don't have Terra Sunder, it's like a two card still says send value, and Crippling Crush just can't ever be those two modes. It's almost always
yeah,
like three card send 11 with no dominate or four card with dominate. So that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, and
Also,
it
notably, it's like our only non-attack action in the deck. So against things like Kasai or Bolton, it also gets like a little bit of points there.
yeah, that's another reason why I wanted to. That's another reason why I felt it was okay to have a miss because it is a non-attack action for Kasai. I think Kasai is a pretty good deck right now, so having just a little bit of help against that, um, on both sides actually, like having that big disruptive effect, it also uh sort of keeps people honest that in that they still have to run D-Reacts and they still have to arsenal it. Because without something like that, they never really have to have D-React, so they can just optimize their deck, right, to kill us. Because we don't have any dominate, right, or dominated crush effects. So, um, let's say in the case of Kasai, I find that um, if they have the space to line up like their spoils with their pumps, it gets a lot easier for them. So having something that blows them out if they are trying to set that up, or something that hinders them by making them still play D-Reacts and Arsenal them, it helps a lot in the matchup. Um, I also feel what was the other thing I was gonna say? Um, uh, it's really nice it's really nice in second cycle also being able to just have a closer in addition to it feels like a lot some of the games if they're a little bit slow and you don't get to resolve as many golden suns, it feels like a lot of games you finish with like blue macho
Oh
or a
yeah, I
golden
love
sun,
that.
right?
Yeah, they're at two
Yeah,
or
yeah,
one, and you're just like, give me three cards off my blue.
yeah. Mm. It's oh yeah, I remember now. It's also a nice way to use tempo, Terra Sunder. Um, I find that in Victor, it's really nice to have those cards that let you play out 5 card hands. That's why I've really been liking E-Strike, Rouse, Pummel. I find that those are the highest priority Arsenal targets. Just cards that if your opponent ever decides to just block 9 Arsenal or block 12, that you can use your whole hand very productively. Yeah, I've been finding that those Arsenals are really good as Victor.
Yeah, I've noticed that's one of the more common strategies into Victor is people assume that Strand block cards in his hand, he can't really use his five card hand, and if you have that stuff like Terra Sunder and Pummel, like you can really punish them for just sort of like you said, blocking nine and arsenaling pass or whatever. So I think those are definitely really cool evolutions of the deck. At first, I was like trying to win every clash, and I was not putting those cards in my deck, but I'm definitely going to be trying them now. And I had
Yeah,
one pummel in my deck, but only one. Here, we'll go to your deck and start. So yeah, here we have the list from the link you shared. I do think it's changed a little bit from what you played at RTN yesterday. I remember there being like one pulverize and two disable, but that's kind of minor. Um, a big difference between your deck and almost everybody else's deck I've seen is that you're running red disable over command and conquer.
yeah.
Um, yeah, do you want to explain a little bit maybe why that's the case?
Yeah, I think it's that and Thunderquake is the other card that some people are running.
Oh yeah, you're not running the Thunderquake either. You also have like AB3.
Yeah. I feel like into if you're playing at a higher tier event, then it's probably not worth running AB because any KNO that you run into probably kills you anyway. But I felt like maybe I had a shot with AB3.
Yeah,
So
maybe
yeah,
it's just like in Swiss, maybe early on you can beat the more mid Kanos. Where
yeah.
AB1, it's
So
just kind of like, I feel like I could teach my wife how to kill me if I had AB1.
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the disable over the command and conquer. I think I was thinking about it actually. The one of the last decisions I had to make was either running tunic and command and conquer or tech plating and disable. and I went with tech plating. I feel like with Command and Conquer, I haven't played with it, to be fair, but I think I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of awkward turns. Like, let's say you win a trounce, so you have a vigor, but you also had a surge. And if you're playing Command and Conquer, the surge goes to waste, and so does your extra vigor, right? So you just
Hmm.
be remaking the surge, playing the Command and Conquer uh with one floating, right? So that feels kind of wasteful.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the disable is better because it uses the surge, and it's also a 9 for KO. That's the other difference, I think. Where having so it's another over 6 or 7 for the KO matchup, which I
So
did value having. So I
that's
think
a
that's
very
why
good
I'm on that
point.
instead of Command and Conquer. Um, so the other downside to disable is that uh they can use D-Reacts, right? So if their arsenal is a D-React, they can just play it, and then the crush effect is kind of fake. But that's okay for us because that means they're not on a 5 card hand, and uh I think more so than Bravo, the Victor damage is very real because your cards just hurt, like Golden Sun. It feels like you do get to the point very, very quickly where they can't say no blocks anymore, even if there is no on hit effect, because they're just dying,
Yeah, on
right?
hit kill you is the best on hit effect for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. It feels like with your overstated cards, you get to that point of the game very, very quickly. Um, yeah, so I think that being able to pump the extra damage into disable and it being able to use the surge is the reason I wanted to run it. I also felt like what was the other thing? Some of the meta decks don't have crown, so I guess I would be similar with CNC, but like brute. I guess this was mainly I was mainly thinking about brute, right? It's also very nice with the situation I mentioned a while ago, where if you have a surge and then you win a trounce, so similar to Spinal, you can play it off of one blue.
Yeah, 2 card 10 sounds good to me for
Yeah.
sure.
It's definitely been better in Blitz, the disable. I'm still not sure about it in CC. I might give a try to what you've been doing, right? You have Tech and Tunic in your list. Is that
I
correct?
do, yeah. That's because I have the sledge and not a Nothos.
Mhm. Yeah, I might think of doing that. So if I cut the AB and then I put back in like Thunderquakes or something, and then have CNC instead in the sideboard to bring in when I play Tunic. That's the other thing I've been thinking about. So I might do that. But I think the main thing that made me bring Disable really was the clash consistency versus KO.
Yeah, I think that's honestly a very good reason to have a card. Um, the meta is really wide open, but if I were to pick like the top deck right now, I would pick KO. I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything else that's really that close to it besides maybe Kasai, but I don't have a ton of experience um, playing against like top level Kasai.
Yeah, I do agree. Kasai is we have a really good Kasai at our local. He got second at our PTI at the Battle Hardened weekend. Um, and just from seeing his games and playing against him, like Kasai is very, very scary. Um, it feels like they have like a lot of power cards and they're just very, very annoying to block. Even as Victor, actually, I had to figure out the game plan into Kasai. I feel like because at least most of our lists can't run sync below. We just don't have the space. It's really easy for Kasai just to and the lack of dominate without Terra Sunder. It's really easy for Kasai just to line up their Blade Flurry and their spoils with another pump, and then they just guarantee 4 copper basically on their turn,
Mm-hmm.
on that power turn, and then now you're just so behind. They just make it so you can't really block those turns out efficiently. So I figured out that the Kasai board actually is just to kill them. Um, I run all the go agains except I was thinking of either Zealous and Nothos or Millers and East Strike. Um, my current plan into them is Millers and E-Strike. So the Zealous's are out because they're one blocks late game. And then the Rouses are in, the Pommels are in, the Terra Sunders are in, and then just try and kill them. Play super aggressively. Block if it's a spoils turn. Any other turn, if your turn does equal damage to blocking, then just no blocks, the Sabers, don't turn on the effect, and then just cash in our value offensively. And then I found that uh, I guess one plan, like let's say the victor is playing aggressively and they like no blocks, and then they play out their 5 card hand. A common way to combat that as a stable block 3 deck is just to block with your whole hand, right? Block your whole hand, concede the tempo to the guardian, and they probably can't hold it, which is the case even with Victor. Um, but the problem is if you do that a little bit too much, you do get fatigued as Kasai. Or what if we snipe one of your power cards in the hand that you have to in the turn that you have to drop your hand? That is another way to help in the matchup, right? Like if you know blocks and then present like rouse with pummel or something like that,
Yeah.
5 card hand, and they do decide to block 12 that turn. If that turn is the turn with the spoils in the hand, the game is just a lot easier, right? And if they are trading, then that's what we want, right? If they decide to take the damage to play out their turn, then they are still playing into our block cards. So I found that the matchup is a lot better playing like that. I think playing to block out Kasai is very losing unless you have the D-Reacts to back it up. But even then, it still feels kind of losing.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was playing Sink Below. That was sort of my concession to like maybe it'll be good against KO and Kasai, where the staunches and movables like I think they're fine against KO. They can be a little clunky. And against Kasai,
yeah,
I'm not in love with them, although you can usually get like 6 value. And stopping and nourishing with like staunch or unmovable is fine, but I feel like Sink Below is just way better because they like spoils attack you for 4 and you can just like sink it, or you can even like Sink Below. They're in the swing when you know they want to hit it. When you know like they activate their Kasai to make a gold and you're like, oh, okay, they're like going over this turn or they wouldn't have just done that.
yeah, yeah. It feels like Think Below probably would be better in Kasai, but yeah, with my board, those aren't even in. As I said, right, like my plan is to kill them, and with the pummels, I don't think I can afford another miss with the Sing Belows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think that plan, well, at least in my testing so far, that plan has worked out a lot better than like even if I did have Sing Below, um, that's like one set of D reacts. They have so many pump reacts like Blade Flurry. You're not even happy Sing Belowing Blade Flurry. It feels
No.
really bad, right? Yeah,
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 yeah. Unless you just no block like the hot streak and make them give it go again, and then they have the blade flurry, and then you can kind of like. But that's just like pretty convoluted. I don't think you can really count on very specific lines like that. But I do agree. I think in a Kasai you want to be aggressive. You want to lower the average amount of turns in those games because obviously like every go again they trigger is like an extra life for them. Um, have you run into problems with Raise an Army at all? With like trading back and forth?
so part of the reason why I developed that board into Kasai is because of Raisin Army. Um, if you try to block them out, they will leak gold for sure, and then they will raise an army, and then you will lose.
Yeah.
So you have to be aggressive. And the other plus side about the board is if they are still running raise an army, and they save gold and they boarded out their cash-ins, they just die. If you play super aggro and they save their gold to raise an army, they don't get there and they will die.
Yeah, you can't take it
Yeah.
with you, right? They'll be packing up their cards, and the gold will go right in the deck box with with the rest of their deck. That's definitely true. Um, and like Raise the Army is sort of low value. Like, isn't just popping a gold in Kasai like way better? It's just like just draw a card in Kasai, right? Because then their swords are free and you get refunded.
Mhm. I found that so the like valuing race and army in Kasai is it's pretty interesting. So basically the normal Kasai turn, right, is pitch a blue Blade Runner or run through or something, and then sword. So that's already three resources. So if you want to swing with cell swords, you have to pitch an extra card. So the best is having three, because then you can pitch another blue and you turn the third card into nine value.
Pretty good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's either three, six, or nine value based on the pitch of the last card. Probably a you'd want a blue. It's probably gonna be a yellow, right? So you'd want about if you have two cell swords and you pitch a yellow, you basically have a one card six and like kind of like zealous and belting, I guess. Zealous, sorry, zealous and anothos, I guess. It allows them to turn an extra card into six value. But the problem with that is they'll have to hold three cards as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And if
so
you're
if
going in, they
yeah,
won't like have the life to do that. Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
So three pummels, huh?
Yeah, I feel yeah. I was thinking about going down to two, which I might do in the next version, but I've really been liking the pummels. Golden Sun is also a very good carrier of pummel because even if they do have like the Diriac, they might not be able to cover up. They probably won't be able to cover up 10 to be able to cover the pummel with the Diriac.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it just has that built-in evasion. What is that? Four card, 14, and a discard. That's pretty
yeah,
good. So I noticed you're on a Nothos. I really like Sledge. Have you considered Sledge at all?
yeah. I've been thinking about Unorthodox versus Sledge as well. Um, I guess the main benefit of Sledge would be the tunic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was also thinking about the Sledge being a way to efficiently pitch stack block cards. Have you been using it for that as well, or not really? Mainly just for the
Yeah,
tunic.
if it comes up, for sure. Mainly, it's in the deck because it's one card six, and I also
Okay.
like the synergy with E Strike. It kind of turns E Strike into Zealous Belting when you have a tunic counter up. Where with E Strike into Millers, you're just it's kind of the same as E Strike into a Nothos 3 card 9, but it's 3 card 11 with the tunic and sledge. But that's more just tunic and sledge being like a 1 card 6.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is more like yeah. So I've been thinking about that. I might give your plan a try, where you have both tech and tunic. Um, the main reason why I I'm I was not sort of planning on trying sledge is because it doesn't work well with rouse. I think that's the main difference. I think where you don't have that very clean four card 13 and an arsenal.
Yeah, you don't get to
Uh,
arsenal your last card. Also Terra Sunder too. I think Terra
yeah,
Sunder's way better with a Nothos.
mhm. Yeah. So those are the main differences. Um, I don't know if we have the space, but I'm thinking, what if we run three hammers? Where we have Anothos for the matchups where we want the belting to be good and the Terra Thunder to be good, and then Tunic Sledge for like Guardian and the slower matchups and the blocky matchups. Um,
I feel like
maybe
Guardian
something.
you want Terra Sunder and Belting to be good too though. So it's kind of like I don't know. Like what matchups like if I was gonna pick a third hammer, it would probably be Titan's Fist, so that my one hand hammer doesn't lose power against KO.
I haven't thought about it. I haven't thought it through. It was just a random thought of having. What if we had three hammers? I did
Yeah,
see somebody had Titan's Fist at an. It was an RTN on a stream I saw. Have you been considering Titan's Fist over Miller's at all?
not over Miller's. I definitely like Miller's, especially against Dromai. I found it's very good.
Yeah.
If they're like on Big Dragon Plan and they're like remembrancing stuff back in the end game and they have like a 10 card deck and they remembrance up to 13, they just like can't ever let that thing hit, right? Because
Mhm.
if it gets their Chromai that they remembranced back, it's pretty ugly. The
Yeah.
problem into Dromai though is you can't swing it into their face early Because if you ever reveal like an E strike and they reveal a C and C and you don't have a gold, you probably just lose the game on the spot because then your hammer
Yeah.
doesn't kill Mirror Guy.
I did fight a big dragon Dromai. I knew he was gonna be big dragon, so I actually boarded very differently. I just brought Anothos and then AB2, and then just went with the fatigue plan, which I feel. Do you think that's correct in the big dragon? If you know they're big dragon, you probably just bring Anothos, right? Just so you can kill Uvia for sure.
Well, the problem with my list is my only AB is the Lantern, so I just can't bring a Nothos into Dromai.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, that was another side benefit of bringing AB3 was that I could bring some other AB and the Nothos. Probably not worth it, but it was a little slight, side benefit of bringing AB3
Why do you like Anothos into Big Dragon? Is it just so your Zealous Beltings are +2 damage? Is it because you want to kill Uvia?
because I want to kill Uvia. I want to be able to kill Uvia immediately, I think. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
I found I haven't really had a problem just like throwing one of our 48 poppers at Uvia, but it might get a little awkward if you don't have a Surge or a Tunic counter or whatever chest you're bringing, and then it gets out of hand.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I haven't had a lot of experience in the Big Dragon Romai, so it was sort of just an intuition call. That might be correct anyway, but um, yeah, it might be yeah, it could get out of hand pretty quickly if it doesn't end up lining up.
Mm-hmm. So for you at the RTN, you did pretty well. How did you do at that event you just played the other day?
Oh yeah, so I went 6-0 in Swiss, and then I lost my first match in top 8 to Dash. It was a hybrid. It was a hybrid dash, so I did have a bit of a shot, but I failed to win. I think half my clashes that game,
That's so
so
bad. Yeah.
pretty rough. And yeah, they had two items the first two turns as well, so pretty bad.
Is your plan in the
Uh,
dash to just like race them and get them into a position where they have to block so much they can't load their items, or do you like to go
yeah,
slower?
yeah, basically try and kill them is what I thought is probably correct. So Anothos, Zealosin, Pummelin, all the go against it. Just be able to present the maximum amount of damage while they're setting up their items. And then hopefully the clash cards keep you in the game later on after they've built their Exodia. Uh, do you have a similar plan at the Dash, or have you been playing it differently?
I play it a little differently, I think. I block a lot and just sort of sneak in damage when I can. A previous version of my deck actually had Rampart of the Ram's Head to just like mitigate damage and come in with hammer for like 4 or whatever I could manage. And you think it would be really hard to fatigue dash, but if they have to keep blocking with all their blues they're pitch stacking or like pitching to their items, and if you're keeping them off of 2 card hands, they can't really do too much to you. Um,
Okay.
don't have a ton of experience into Dash with Victor, maybe like 15 games or so, but it's been pretty effective. In our meta, though, we don't really have any Dash, so I cut the Ram's Head, and I haven't really had to play against Dash in like 2 weeks.
Oh, that must be nice.
Yeah, yeah, we do
Yeah.
have one of the best Kanos in the world, though, locally, so that's
Oh,
always rough.
yeah, that sucks. Huh. Interesting. I'll have to give You think it does a lot, the Rampart versus Dash? You think it sort of. Where do you think the matchup sits after having the Rampart?
If it's hybrid dash, I think we're favored. If it's like control, I
Really?
do, yeah. Just pitching a blue and stopping 6 damage when they have Exodia is like insane. We have like a huge fridge, and if we're just sending like 9 a turn, they can't just be leaking 3 every turn. So they're going to give you like 3 cards often. They'll get their unmovable and defense reaction value, sure, but it's been going pretty well for me. Now, of
Huh,
course, if it's the
interesting.
control dash, that's another story.
Yeah, yeah.
They have like blue unmovables and stuff. It's in Oasis Respites and Tunic, and it's a lot worse.
Yeah, I saw some people talking about Rampart in the Victor chat. I should give that a try versus Dash. Huh, interesting. So, uh, do you still bring the go agains in, like Zealous
I
and
do, yeah.
Mhm. So
Even with one hand hammer, I would still just bring them in because they're still just like 3 card 9, and that's
I
kind
see.
of what you're trying to do is get them to block with 3 cards. And if they only block with 3 cards, they're either loading up items to use their 1 card next turn to send like 9 to
12?
12,
Yeah, 9 to
or
12.
they're just sending 4. And it's like, if they're sending 4, that's really bad. And then also with like, if we're playing pummels and pulverizes and zealous beltings, if they're just loading items and passing, you're teeing off on them really hard. Like you're at that point, you're not just sending 9, you're sending like 13. But
I
not too
should give
sure. Maybe it's not the best plan, but it has been working for me.
I should give that a try. Yeah, I want to give that a try.
And I was on CNC over Disable too, which like CNC pummel would be very good against them
Yeah, that's
for sure.
another reason why I was thinking of running CNC as well. It's just a lot better into the decks that you struggle against, right? Well, I guess mainly Dash.
It's less synergistic with the hero overall, I think, because I've actually been testing your list this morning and really liking the disables because sometimes you just block with like a test of strength or a trounce, you draw a card, and then your opponent just like arsenal passes, and you're looking at like 2 blues and a CNC in your hand, and you're like, this sucks. Like I'm not
Yeah,
going to
yeah, that's
arsenal, you know. So
yeah,
the
that's
disables
another
have been really good.
reason. Yeah, that's another reason I want. That's another reason that I was favoring the disable over the CNC, right? Because we do draw a lot of cards, right? So if they don't present enough, the disable is a better outlet for the cards, right? Exactly the situation you said. If you do
Yeah.
draw an extra card and they don't present enough, you just have two blues and CNC.
Yeah, and it's like you don't get any value at all. You're like, maybe if they're low enough, you can arsenal like an 8 blue, and it's better than 2 card sixing them with like a big hammer or even like surge and hammer for 4. But it's not enough better. You're not getting like a ton of value off of like arsenaling a blue unless it's
Yeah,
exactly Terra Sunder, but Terra Sunder is not even a card you would draw off a clash, so
yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's like 2 points, right? If you Arsenal a blue.
yeah. Yeah, you're not trying to get 2 points out of your card draw. You're trying to get like 4.
Yeah.
Was Victor more of like a comfort pick for you, or do you think it's actually just like a really good deck?
I think given the meta I expected, I think Victor was the right choice. I was deciding between Bravo and Victor. I ended up bringing Victor mainly because it has a better Kasai matchup, and I was expecting the Kasais to do well. Um, and I was right. There were two Kasais in the top eight. I was just on the wrong side of the bracket.
You had to play like the 1 dash or whatever it
The one
was.
dash. Yep, the one dash. Yeah,
Oh, that's
it was
tragic.
annoying actually. I was thinking about like I guess I should have just conceded round six, so I ended up on the other side of the bracket. Like I'm a I sort of don't like the meta right now with how the meta sort of works right now, where everybody sort of just has a couple auto losses, and you just hope you don't run into them in gem. Like everybody except KO, right? It feels like uh a lot of your tournament result is just gem, right? And I don't think it felt like that before heavy hitters. So I'm a little annoyed that the meta is kind of like that right now. It makes it a lot harder to pick a deck because it's like, oh, what if I run into this? What if I run into this? Like Kasai has a hard Kano draw my matchup. The Guardians have their usual Guardian auto losses. Um, everybody else, or not everybody else, but a lot of other decks just like lose to Victor and Bravo. Like the random aggro decks are losing, right?
Yeah,
Like
like
ninjas
Azalea
are.
loses to Guardian, Ninja loses to Victor, and it's like not even like a 60-40. It's like much worse than that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you don't want to
basically,
be
yeah.
Fi sitting across from Victor. You're just like, It's almost like guarding in a Kano. You just like have
Yeah.
almost no shot.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it feels like yeah. Um, there was a recent like Teklo top four, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I was thinking about it. I feel like it's not that Teklo got better. It's that like now everybody has the Teklo problem of they just have auto losses. So
yeah,
now we're all at the same level. Yeah.
yeah. And Teklo should beat Guardian and Warrior, right? So it's like
Yeah.
maybe it's also like sneaky good if people are trying to play their like new heroes.
Yeah. Yeah. That too. But yeah, so he has the auto losses as well to like Kano and Dromai. So yeah, the meta right now it feels like a lot of it is just based on your gem pairing.
Yeah, and it's
Um
not even like rock paper scissors where you can try to target two decks. There's like 10 viable decks that are all have that issue.
yeah, exactly, exactly. It's like everything is viable, but not in the way that you would like.
Yeah,
Not in the way that is desirable, right?
yeah, but if 10 heroes are viable, why not just play consistent Guardian? It's always there for you. At least you
Yeah,
won't lose to your own deck.
consistent outside consistent in game, but gem variants. Yeah, I've been like saying like you either have to play with like gem variants or in-game variants, right? The only deck right now that is not subject to gem variants is KO, just a brute. So in-game variants and Levia, I'd say. I think Levia's only losing matchup is Victor and Azalea.
I'm glad you said Victor because I was gonna say I think Victor's really good into Levia.
Yeah.
That's one of the brutes you can definitely trounce.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about it like Bravo and Victor differences. It feels like there's two matchups that flip, right? So mainly, right, Bravo and Victor, the differences are, as Victor, you win the matchups that you win as Bravo harder, and then you lose the matchups that you lose harder, right? But the matchups that do flip, I believe, are Levia. So you're losing on Bravo, but you're winning on Victor.
Hmm.
And then there's another one. If you can maybe help me think about it. That is
I would say Bolton might be kind of close to that. Although I think it's not like
maybe
great for either one.
yeah. KO. I think Bravo
KO.
does better into KO than Victor does. So I think Victor is I don't know if it flips from losing to winning, but Bravo does do better into KO, I believe.
And that's just from the disruption you feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so expensive. It's so hard to face tank like an agility turn and throw back
Yeah,
a
yeah.
crippling. Like,
I've been thinking about our planet to KO. It feels like fatiguing them is probably the best way to go about things because it's just impossible to trade because your clashes are not reliable. So in the games where you lose the clashes, you really just can't trade. You just have to hope that when you concede them full tempo and they don't have an agility that they just break. Um, or you and yeah, that you're able to just fatigue them. That probably wouldn't work against like top KOs, but it probably works at any KO under that. Yeah, it probably works for any KO under that. And I feel like Bravo can force the game to go to that more, right? With I guess with crippling and starstruck, right? You have a little bit more must blocks. Um, with CNC also, if you are running CNC, that's a smaller disruptive hand,
hmm.
so it's a lot easier to force the game to slow down to where becomes an issue. So that's why I think Bravo is probably a little bit more favored in the KO. Yeah,
He has a little less armor because I think Bravo's probably bringing Tunic into every matchup now, but that's only two
yeah,
life, and the Tunic probably gets you that value immediately when you like two card debilitate your opponent.
yeah, yeah,
Um, because it's really hard to do. I've found that it's really hard to do that in Victor. You basically have to have like CNC, which is like the only two card hand where you can make a surge and throw something good.
yeah, yeah. That's also why I've been liking the tech plating. Off of the random vigors, you're able to surge hammer off of one card and then
Hmm.
have the search for a two card play later. Yeah.
I think fatiguing KO is pretty tough. My strategy into KO is win the die roll, go second. They don't have cast bones, and they start at like 32. That's like been my most successful sort of line, which Obviously not recreatable. You got to win a coin flip, and then you have to win like another small percentage thing.
Yeah, I haven't tested it a lot. I should probably, yeah, I should probably find like a KO testing partner also to try that out because yeah, I do expect he's gonna be a large part of the meta going forward. I'm actually thinking of playing KO as well.
I was just
Uh,
going to ask if KO is so good, why not just play KO?
yeah, I guess the one way to describe how I feel about KO is like he feels like his unfair is his unfair feels very fair. It's like a very fair version of being unfair, right? Where you just have like tiny little extra points, right? And then and cast bones, I guess. And then your bellows feel a lot fairer as well compared to
Yeah,
the other
only one
brutes.
arm.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like KO's unfair is like maybe that's just the Guardian in me speaking, but I feel like it's kind of a lot. Like when they go like when they go like agility swing big for 8 into claw for 3 into wild ride for 6 into cast bones, you're just like what? Like did you really just like do 24 to me off like 4 cards? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, it does get pretty ridiculous
But I
sometimes.
guess
But
it is just points. It's not like red in the ledger dominate where you're just like, "Oh, I can't play the game."
mhm. Yeah, yeah, it feels like yeah, it just value, but then sometimes you might lose like a swingier game or something. I'm not sure though. I still have to play some more KO, but that's the way that's the main reason why that's the main reason why I'm not super duper like just sold on KO, right?
Draw and
Like
discard a cast bones, and you're like, "Oh, this sucks."
yeah, that too. Like just variants, right? Like Brute's kind of like the opposite of Guardian, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really want to be playing consistent decks, um, and very ironically, KO is like one of the more consistent decks right now because you're not subject to gem variants, and you are a pretty consistent brute. Um, it just so thinking about your power cards, right? So you have Cast Bones, which is a one card 5 to 6, or let's say five to 7, or 5 to 8,
Yeah, I was gonna go.
right?
If agility is worth 0 to you, I don't even know about that.
Yeah, so like 5 to 7, 5 to 8, and then you have the Bellows, which are basically +4 every time you draw it. Sometimes it's +6, if you're able to set it up. And
Yeah,
then
it's like
outside
plus
of that,
5 too, because it makes you that might. But I guess your turn was probably gonna trigger KO to make the
yeah,
might anyway.
mhm, yeah, and then the +1 every turn. And then outside of that, I guess Swing Big is the other one, but then it's really hard to super maximize Swing Big, so it's a two card aid, which is good, right? But you do have the potential to do like 8 into with an agility and then tunic claw. That's probably the ceiling for swing big. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
those are your three power cards, which are like compared to like let's say Victor, that's a lot less, right? I'd say that's a lot less. Like
Less than
in the
Victor, or Victor's less than KO.
that's a lot less than KO has a lot less power in his power cards than Victor, right? So for us as Victor, so we have the test, the trounce, and then the golden sun, and then the prime to fight sometimes. So the
Mm-hmm.
test is an extra 4, right? Because it's a 4 block, and then you draw a card, and then more value off the gold maybe later. And then the trounce is an extra 5 value plus maybe the gold, and then golden sun's an extra 2 value, and then primed is like an extra. So like the high roll of prime to fight, it's a 2 card 11, right?
Yeah, which is
So
crazy.
that's an extra like 3 points of value. I feel like that's more as Victor. Plus consistency. There is value always in being consistent.
So is Victor just like super good? And it's just that he can't win clashes into KO, so it kind of sucks. Cause
Yeah.
like if KO's really good, it's like the best deck in the format, I would probably say.
I would agree. I think I agree.
And then Victor's power cards are better. It's just that they're not turned on all the time against
Yeah,
KO.
yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's just so annoying. Like like gem variants right now is really annoying as Victor.
When I saw Test of Strength was a common, I was like, we're getting blue and yellow of this, and then of course we didn't.
Huh. I hadn't thought about that actually.
Like, because it
If
was one of the first spoiled cards, and as soon as they
yeah,
released
yeah.
Victor, I was like, oh man, we're cooking. Like, this is going to be insane. But then,
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, we probably would run just rainbow, right?
I think so, and you'd cut Trounce, and then you could just play like Terra Sunder and Sink Below and Pummel and be fine, right?
Yeah, actually. Huh. That makes me sad now that they
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah, it
rainbow.
makes me a little
Yeah.
sad too, but also maybe a little happy because that probably would have been pretty cracked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, so you also played Victor in Blitz. Do you
Yeah,
just love this hero, or was this like you think is just like the best deck?
I think it's just the best deck. Um, when I was testing for Blitz actually the week before, I probably put like 120 games into like Prism,
Oh, a man
and
after my own
then
heart. I play a ton of games as well.
so I put so much time into practicing Prism, and then I just thought about it for a bit. Uh, so I wanted a good dash matchup, so I needed to play a Guardian, and then I also wanted a good Briar matchup, so not Bravo. Then I realized Victor could probably do it. And then I ended up playing about maybe like 20 testing games max as Victor in Blitz, and then just sort of believing that the intuition was correct that, yeah, that makes sense. He'd probably win. Um, that was like most of it. Most of the testing was just thinking about like, so we have the extra value from this, extra value from that. I don't see how we lose to any other deck other than Briar. And we probably beat Briar as well. So that's good. And then it was funny actually. The Battle Hardened weekend, the entire week, I was testing CC the whole time. And yeah, I played like about like 20 Blitz games with Victor overall, like uh, that entire week and like the week before. Most of it really was just conceptualizing the deck and realizing its spot in the meta. Um, and so yeah, I was testing CC the whole time, and then I do well in the Battle Harden, and then the day after at the PTI, I bring Victor as well, and then I go 1-2 and drop.
Was the PTI CC?
Yeah, the PTI was CC. So round one of that was I paired into the one of two. I think it was like 100 people. I pair against the one out of the two maxes. Round one, and I had Warhorn in that list, and I don't draw the Warhorn, and then he has turn three mech, and then I die.
Sounds about
Uh,
right.
yeah, and then round two I get an actual good matchup, so I get an Uzuri, and I win that one. And then round three I pair into the one of two Kano, and that tournament I didn't bring AV, or well I brought AV one, so I died and just dropped. It's funny that I tested the whole week for CC, barely tested Blitz, and I win the Blitz event, but I just like I want to drop. I think that's the first time in a while I've had to drop at an event. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
the
was
the
fun.
card game gods couldn't give you another one 2 days in a row there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I guess I was pretty lucky the Blitz day because I did dodge all the Reinhards, which I'd say is probably the only losing matchup for Victor in Blitz right now.
Reinhardt does seem pretty tough. They just make it so you can't block and deal like 14.
Yeah, yeah. In Blitz 2, there's a lot less time to stabilize the variants, right?
Yeah, you got a
Uh,
bunch of armor, but probably not enough.
yeah.
I'm not really well versed in Blitz. I really don't play Blitz at all. The only Blitz I've played is some Victor once I got this list, and I was like, yeah, we'll see if it's good. I played a little bit of Emperor before because I thought Emperor was like insane. And yeah, Victor feels very good. You're basically just like fatiguing people, and you still have like 24 cards in your deck.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're really not
I
trying to fatigue people. You're just attacking them, and they're blocking with all their cards.
Because they're basically dead already. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I also don't like to play a lot of Blitz. Our country has just been, um, at least before the battle hardened, uh, like last year, it was sort of the onboarding phase for a lot of people. It was sort of our like growth phase. So, um, I guess like with skirmish season before that also, everybody was just on Blitz. So we needed to run the event as Blitz just to have more numbers, just to have the participation numbers. Because a lot of people aren't on CC yet. If we just looking at the two events, right? Our main event had like 175, and then our PTI event had about like 100. So that was the main reason that the main event was Blitz. I'm glad that we're off Blitz now, and hopefully we as a country just transition to CC until like I guess skirmish season again, which isn't until like late this year. So yeah, I am
Yeah.
happy to be done with Blitz as well, and have everybody be playing CC.
Yeah, that was kind of the same for when I started playing. I feel like it was all blitz. Maybe I just started playing when there was like a skirmish season, but it felt like it was an easier way to get people into the game. You don't have to learn how to sideboard. You have to buy less cards. Games are pretty short, so you can work on just like fundamentals instead of like long form, like pitch stacking sort of stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot better for onboarding your players.
Yeah. But yeah, for maybe 2 years now, it's been like all CC. We just don't play Blitz. Even when it's skirmish season, we're just like, can we just draft? Like, we don't want to play Blitz.
Yeah, actually, all right. Some skirmishes are draft. Yeah, I hope they do that for our skirmish season where everybody just picks draft instead.
Yeah, I think there's always like two choices, and maybe it'll be like sealed or draft plus Blitz. I think Blitz is always involved. Although I would like to see like LL skirmishes or like Living Legend format be something that's actually played. I don't really want to play it, but I kind of want the format to see some play. I
Well,
know there's some people that want to sleeve up like Briar or even Starvo or Old Prism.
I would have been more excited for LL if Oldhim was a viable deck. I started with Bravo, right? And that was around the time that Oldhim was about the LL. So I didn't want to build Oldhim. I don't want to play Oldhim because he's just gonna LL and then, you know, waste of cards.
Yeah.
But like from watching gameplay and like thinking about it and like realizing how Oldhim would have worked, I've never actually been able to play the CC deck, but that's sort of like one of the decks that I wish I got to play.
Yeah,
As
Crown of
somebody
Seeds is a
who really,
hell of a card.
yeah, as somebody who really enjoyed the Guardian class, I know that I would have loved Oldhim, and I'm sad that I never got to play him, and I'm sad that he sucks in LL too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Starvo's killing it for all the Guardians. You can't play any Guardian that's not Starvo and LL.
Yeah. And I realized too they probably restricted the ice cards. I thought that like restricting the the specs and Okinold were probably enough to bring Starvo to a manageable tier, but they had to restrict the ice cards as well. And then what somebody pointed out that they probably had to do that also for Lexi. So I realize now that the ice cards are just they're tied to Lexi as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't just unrestrict them to keep the ice heroes alive because then Lexi will just be the best deck by even more. So they had to restrict it. So I don't know what to do now. I don't know if Oldhim will ever be viable there. I'll just play Star Wars for fun, and then if ever there's a real like LL format tournament, I guess I just have to play Lexi right now. I do hope they support that format more and like make it healthy a little bit more somehow. Maybe bump Lexi down by restricting something.
Yeah, it seems like I personally am not too interested in LL, but I would like to see it not just be like a waste, kind of. Like, I don't want it to just be like, oh, there's this thing you can do with your old cards, but no one really does it. There's no real reason to. Like, maybe like an
Yeah, yeah.
LL calling once in a while. Something.
I I think they'll probably do like LL Battle Harden or something like that. Kind of like in Barcelona. Probably. I feel like they'll do something like that at some point.
Yeah. Well, we've been going at it for like an hour. I think we should probably wrap this up. But thank you so much for joining me and spending your time to do this. It's been an absolute delight. Um,
Oh wait,
one
one thing. I wanted to ask you how your run went.
and Road to Nationals.
Yeah.
So here I have my deck right here that I ran. Um, did really well in Swiss. I started 4-0. Actually played against Dory, Bolton, Dory, and then Katsu. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
just like
So
I was clashing people all day. I was like
yeah,
trouncing, bringing my tokens out. It was a wonderful time. And then in round five, of course, I had to play against Kano, and probably didn't even need to play that game. Probably could have just like conceded and like got some food before top eight. But I wanted to see how it went because I've never actually played the matchup. I was just like, oh yeah, we can't win. And I got my opponent to 5 life, and it was never close. He destroyed me because, yeah, with 1 AB, you can't really do anything.
yeah, you just can't.
But I had Rouse the Ancients turn into Rouse the Ancients turn into a pummeled CNC. So it was like, I think that's probably about as good as I could hope for.
Mhm.
And still wasn't even close to enough. But good times. Getting to top eight. My quarterfinal opponent is my buddy, a teammate of mine, and he is on KO. And I lose, which always sucks because it's like one game out of qualifying for
Yeah.
nationals. But glad he won. Not glad he won, but I'm happy that whoever beat me was someone I wanted to win, and will probably be traveling with to nationals whenever it happens. But that game I don't think was very close. I won some test of strengths, but one of them was turn zero, so it wasn't really that great.
Okay.
And I flipped over a eight on a clash, and he flipped over a swing big, and that always feels really bad
Oh
because it's like that's the
no.
one card they have, right?
Yeah.
And I had a gold, and I should have reclashed, but maybe it was just like late in the day, and I wasn't thinking about it. Maybe wanted to save it for a golden sun, but I had a big life lead in that game, and it just kind of slipped away from me. He had like a cast
Oh.
bones turn into another cast bones turn. But overall, really liked the deck. My list was a little different. Have command and conquers instead of disables. Have thunderquakes. And only one pummel, no pulverize. I ran sink below over the big reacts. My main thought was there wasn't going to be a lot of guardian, and there was going to be a lot of KO, and maybe I could like brick one of their pulpings with sink below. And it was also good against the
Yeah.
warriors.
Mhm.
And then of course only AB1 I ran like the extra helmet and the tunic sledge. But I did get a rainbow foil victor, so that's something we could take home with us.
I got an Olympia.
I did too, but I traded. So
Oh no. I wish I wish somebody at my RTN traded. Yeah, hopefully I get a victor at one of the next RTNs. Are you going to any more?
yeah, we have one next week, and then the week after that. There's actually two next week, and there's one on Saturday and Sunday, but I'll probably only be able to make it out to one. Um, and they'll both be CC. There's like draft ones we could go to, but we want to go play CC. Definitely want to get more testing in with this hero before LA. Well, I guess that's another
Yeah.
question. Are you going to be going to Pro Tour LA?
Yeah. Yeah, I will be there.
Awesome. Well, I hope to see you there.
Yeah, see you.
Maybe see you at the top tables up there with Victor.
Hopefully, hopefully.
Well, yeah. Of course, thanks again for coming by. It's been a real treat, and hopefully the viewers think so as well. You're
Yeah, thanks
you're a
for
really
having me.
yeah, of course. If anyone wants to find you, do you have like a Twitter or like a YouTube channel or anything like that?
Yeah, I am on Twitter. What is my actually I don't even know my tag by heart. What is it? What am I? I'm at JustinCoo22 on
Awesome.
Twitter. I don't have a YouTube channel. I'm thinking about starting one. Right now though, I do have a couple deck techs on the Unbox Flesh and Blood YouTube channel. So that's mainly where I'm at. I'm on some of their podcasts as well. Uh, yeah, that's it for now.
Well, awesome. Everyone, you should go check him out. A great person, a great player, and it's been a real pleasure. So thanks for stopping by.